If there was one thing the GMMK Pro was heavily criticized for more than anything else when it launched almost 2 years ago, was for how firm its typing experience was out of the box. So in late 2022, Glorious decided to offer an optional upgrade FlexKit to any of its Glorious Guild members who were unsatisfied with the typing experience of their GMMK Pros and wanted to increase the amount of plate flex in their boards. Now, 6 months after this partial release, Glorious is finally making it available to the general public through their own web store. And today we'll check this FlexKit out and test it to see if it indeed does what it says on the tin, as well as try to answer who should consider getting this kit, or if it is even worth its retail price of $100. Hello and welcome to I.O. Sam. I am Sam Franco, and this is a channel where I review and occasionally fix and mod PC peripherals for productivity and gaming. So today, almost 2 years after the GMMK Pro's release, we're finally testing an official Glorious upgrade kit that is supposed to give those typists that would like to get a bit more plate flex out of their GMMK Pros what they want, but without having to resort to DIY mods and hacks. Now, in good I.O. Sam fashion, we're gonna cover all sides of the plate flex argument here and then determine what this kit accomplishes for people with different tastes for plate flex and different typing styles, when compared to all the mods the community has been doing to this keyboard in the last 2 years. And then we'll see if this kit's $100 price, or its promotional $60 when I'm recording this video, can give you better results than the cheap O-ring mod I showed on my original review of the GMMK Pro in 2021, that gave decent results for about $8 for a bag of rubber O-rings. As a quick disclaimer, Glorious did send me this kit, plus a few other parts I'll show in this video, free of any cost for the sole purpose of this video review. Although the GMMK Pro I'll be modding in this video I did buy with my own money in 2021. But whatever the case, I don't get paid by Glorious or any other product vendor, and they don't get to see my videos in advance, nor to dictate what I should or shouldn't say in my reviews. All opinions expressed here are 100% mine. There will be links for all products, tools, and parts I use in this video in the description below, and many of those will be affiliate links that can generate revenue to help support this channel without any additional cost to you if you choose to use them. But that also doesn't influence my opinion of the products I cover in this channel in any way. So first, let's see what exactly you get when you buy this FlexKit. In the box, you get one plate foam, 2 case foam sheets with different thickness, a set of screws, 3 sets of gaskets in 3 different materials and softness levels, which we thankfully get a lot of these, enough for you to be able to try them all before you settle on your final choice, and the main star of the show, the redesigned bottom half of the case, which my copy came in this beautiful but $10 more expensive e-white coating. But you can obviously get this kit also in black or silver to match your existing GMMK Pro color. The basic idea behind this kit was to redesign the bottom half of the case to significantly increase the gap between where the gaskets sit and the top half of the case, and then make the floor inside of the case a bit deeper as well to increase the size of the void between the case and the bottom of the PCB. While the bottom case gasket supporting structures have remained with the same height of the original GMMK Pro, 8.5mm, the taller bits where the top case rests upon are now much taller than those on the original GMMK Pro by almost 3mm. This change helps to lift the position of the case's top half, so now the gaskets can be almost twice as thick as they were on the original design, with far more space to compress and expand in the vertical axis. Also, the bottom floor of the case has sunk by another 1mm, increasing the distance of the PCB to the bottom case and allowing more space for the plate and PCB assembly to flex downward before it touches the metal on the bottom. Another difference is that in the redesigned bottom half, the middle gasket supporting structures on the north and south sides are now narrower, and those on the right and left have been deleted, allowing the plate to bounce deeper even on the extremities. As we'll see later in the installation chapter, this kit gives you a few options of case and plate foam to use, as well as for gaskets. Both the plate and the 2 options of case foam come in this new white material that Glorious branded G Foam. This G branding thing is a dangerous, slippery slope, huh? G-Lube, G-Foam, what's next?
And what about G-Bone?
There's no G-Bone.
There's a G-Spine.
That's a myth.
Anyway, this material looks and feels like viscopolymer and is supposed to better absorb high-frequency sounds, which should help with the acoustics. The white color of the plate foam will also help in better reflecting the RGB lights from the PCB if you happen to go with the translucent polycarbonate plate. You get a single option of plate foam that has the exact thickness to fill the space between the plate and the PCB, as well as two options for bottom case foam, 1.4 and 2.3 millimeters. These two thickness options will impact how much sound gets absorbed and thus not reflected out of the case, and also how much space the plate and PCB assembly will have to move in the vertical axis, thus also determining how much space the assembly will have to flex. For the gasket strips, you have three options: soft pour-on, medium G-foam, and hard EPDM. These gasket strips are also much thicker than the stock 2mm ones that come with the GMMK Pro, at 3.3mm for the EPDM strips and 3.5 for the pour-on and G-foam ones. These different materials will affect how much bounce the plate and PCB assembly will have and how quickly they'll return to their initial position. A few other aesthetic and functional changes were also made. The bottom branding now has Glorious new Odin silhouette besides the name. The wedge-shaped structure in the bottom has retreated a bit and now has a bigger angle in the back, increasing the distance of the top case's overhang and moving the USB plug deeper as well. And now you attach the two halves using just 4 screws instead of the original's 8. For this review, Glorious also sent me a few optional parts that you might only need in case you want to change the color of your board, such as this E-white top case half and a knob to match the color of my E-white FlexKit. Hey, this is really white now, and not white ice, which as we all know is actually silver. Obviously, if you get a FlexKit in either black or silver to match your existing GMMK Pro, you won't need to purchase another top half or knob, since you can simply continue using the stock ones that originally came with your board. Glorious also offers a USB-C daughter board replacement, but oddly I don't see an option to buy a new full PCB, which is a missed opportunity here, and something I hope they address soon, since it would be awesome to be able to simply buy a replacement PCB in case anything goes wrong with the stock one. Another thing Glorious sent here was their polycarbonate plate, which is their recommended option to go along with the FlexKit for those who want maximum plate flex. But this is optional as well, since you can obviously use the FlexKit with the stock aluminum plate or with an aftermarket brass or FR4 plates with no issues. I had already tested Glorious PC plate on my GMMK Pro Extra Plate and PCB mods video I published here on the channel last year, and at the time I had decided to go with the AVX Works FR4 plate for a more consistent type experience. But here I decided to go back to the PC plate just to go with the option that would give the FlexKit the most room to, well, flex, since this is the whole point of getting this kit to begin with. If you like mechanical keyboards and DIY electronics, did you know you can design your own keyboard and then have it manufactured for you? Be it a single prototype or hundreds of units for your next group buy, PCBWay can help you throughout this whole process. They offer all the services you need, such as PCB prototyping, manufacturing, and assembly, as well as plate and case CNC machining, injection molding, or 3D printing. PCBWay is the leading one-stop shop solution that offers you fast turnaround times, all the latest tech in PCB fabrication, an easy-to-use interface to submit your designs, and a team of experts to help you during the whole process. Oh, and remember to check their Mechanical Keyboards shared projects page with dozens of ideas for keyboards and parts you can build for yourself or use as inspiration for your next original design. Check the video description below for more information and for $5 off your first order with PCBWay.com. To install the FlexKit, you start by disassembling your existing GMMK Pro. And because I decided to replace the plate, I'll also have to remove the keycaps and switches. Then I remove the knob and all 8 bottom screws before removing the top case half. Here you can see the 8 O-rings I used in my original mod in my GMMK Pro Ultimate Guide video. Then I detached the JST cable to let loose the PCB. Then it was time to remove the AVX Works FR4 plate I have been using for the last year, which had no screws attaching it to the PCB, and then removing the stock plate foam. Now, before moving the PCB and plate assembly to their new housing, first you have a few decisions to make here, such as using case foam or not. If using one, which of the 2 thickness options to go with or without plate foam, and then finally, which of the 3 gasket options to go with. So for the purpose of this video, I went with the configuration that I thought would give me the maximum flex possible without ruining the soft sound I got accustomed with my GMMK Pro, which was the soft pour-on gaskets with plate foam, and then with either the thin 1.4mm case foam or no case foam at all. But as we'll discuss later in the video, I didn't make these choices because of my personal preference regarding plate flex on keyboards. The point here is to show you what is the maximum amount of flex you can get out of this kit, so you can then choose if that's what you want, or if you prefer to dial down the amount of flexibility according to your own preference, by choosing a different configuration of gaskets, foam, and plate material. Once you choose your configuration, then you can move on to reassembling the board. First, you have to transplant the USB-C daughter board to the new bottom case, making sure you keep the original screw, which has a different size and thread from all other screws in the keyboard. That is still relevant even if you buy a new daughter board, since at least my copy did not come with a replacement screw. So I had no choice here but to use the stock one for my GMMK Pro. Then you place your choice of case foam, which I'm going with the thinner one here. And then you apply your choice of gaskets to the raised lips of the bottom case, which here I'm going with the porn ones. If you decide to change the plate material, this is when you attach the PCB to the new plate. So in my case, I'm going with the G-foam layer and replacing the FR4 plate I was using before with the glorious polycarbonate one. Here I decided not to apply extra gaskets to the plate, since I wasn't sure this would be needed in this new redesigned case. And as we'll see later, I was right in my assumption, since the new bottom half offers enough space for the plate to move up and down, so applying extra gaskets to the top would only compress the plate further and reduce flex. As you'll notice here, I'm keeping my C3 Eco stabs, which have been working perfectly on my board for 2 years now, and both the KBD Fans PE foam pads and the tape mods I did to my board in my GMMK Pro mods video. I figured that most people who want more flex in their keyboards are likely to also want more volume sound, which these mods will give you to a certain extent. But that is 100% personal preference, of course, so these mods are obviously not required. A few important points to mention here if you go with the same configuration I used. First, you have the option to use either the stock screws that came with your board, which will work with the PC plate, or use the ones that come with the plate. And here I decided to use the stock screws that have a 0.5 millimeter shorter heads than the ones that come in the PC plate package, which I believe will reduce the chance of having the screws touching the bottom case when the PCB is pushed all the way down. Second, you have to apply a lot of force to attach the screws into the PC plate, since the screws are supposed to self-tap to the soft plastic material. And third, you have to use the stock screws to fixate the light diffusers, since the screws that come with the PC plate don't work with those. Here I didn't bother to attach the 2 middle screws on the top, since the perimeter ones seem to be good enough to keep the assembly in place when using the G-foam layer in between, and I don't feel like my switches will pop out in the center without those screws attached here. Then, just plug the JST connector to the daughter board, place the assembly on top of the bottom case, lining it up with the gaskets and ensuring the daughter board cable is sitting inside of the proper channel on the bottom case, place the top case half over everything, and attach the now only 4 case screws, which are included in the kit, but are of the same type of the stock ones that come with the GMMK Pro, so they are interchangeable. As for switches, I decided to keep my beloved Gateron Ink Yellows, which are one of my favorite linears ever for their deep sound, smoothness, and perfectly balanced weight. GAT inks are not loud switches, so if you want your GMMK Pro to scream, you might want to go with some long stem pulse switches such as Glorious On Pandas or any of the myriad of long stem linears in the market today. But the quiet, low-pitched thunk of the inks is pure bliss to my ears. As for keycaps, I decided to bring back the dummy key triple shot white and gray on black in the cherry profile I had tested on my KBD Fans KBD67 Lite review, since on that board I ended up keeping the cat profile caps on it. Besides, the white alphas with gray Hiragana sub-legends look just perfect on this Stormtrooper white GMMK Pro. And here we can see the aesthetic advantage of the PC plate. The bright backlighting coming through to the surface, which is something you don't get with a metal or FR4 plate. So, answering the first question we set out in the beginning, can the GMMK Pro Flex now with this kit? Well, kinda. With the case foam installed, the thinner 1.4mm G-foam layer I used here, you do get noticeable flexing in the perimeter, but not so much in the center, which, if you're going for a flexi keyboard to begin with, it would probably be the place where you'd want the plate and PCB assembly to flex the most, I'd assume. And since this was the thinnest case foam sheet included in the kit, I'd say that if flex is really what you're going for, both case foam sheets included with this kit would be a no-go here. Now, once I removed the case foam and left only the plate foam, then we get what we were promised here. Now you get a consistent amount of flex in all parts of the board. Having said that, does this kit, even in its most flexy configuration, transform the GMMK Pro into some sort of flex monster? No, not really. Specifically in terms of flex, it does bring the GMMK Pro to the same level of the Keychron Q1 V1 I have here. Although the GMMK Pro with the FlexKit and the rest of the configuration I have here sounds far deeper and nicer than a stock Q1 V1 though. But the reason why I'm making this comparison is just to point out that it seems clear to me that the idea behind this upgrade kit was to improve the flex of the original GMMK Pro for those who thought it was too stiff in its stock form, but not to turn it into a trampoline, such as other custom boards I've seen and tried out there. And is this a good or a bad thing? Well, bear with me for a little longer and let's just cover the sound and typing feel parts before we get back to this flex argument. Let's hear how the GMMK Pro with the FlexKit's redesigned bottom case, plate foam, lubed Gateron ink yellows, dummy key white on black ABS cherry keycaps, with both PE foam and tape mods sound with a 1.4mm case foam and with no case foam at all. I'll also throw in the mix the typing sound tests of the original GMMK Pro in its original case with the same switches, stabs, PE foam, and tape mods, but with the case silicone and O-ring mods with the MT3 keycaps on the aluminum, the polycarbonate, and the FR4 plates for comparison. In terms of acoustics, while the G-foam actually made the keyboard a tiny bit louder than without case foam, the difference in volume is small enough to be imperceptible. But more importantly, the board sounded a notch deeper and thockier without the foam, so I ended up preferring the sound without case foam anyway. When compared with the GMMK Pro in its original case, plus the same PE foam, tape, and all other mods I did in my previous GMMK Pro mod and videos, the two FlexKit configurations I use here sound a bit quieter with the same switches. The difference in the sound characteristics between the modded original case and the FlexKit one was noticeable in my opinion. With the kit, the sound was less resonant and a bit less hollow, which might be a good or a bad thing depending on your personal preferences. For my taste, I prefer the sound with the FlexKit. Now, moving on to the part I consider the most important in a keyboard, the typing feel. But here it is always important to caveat any opinions by saying the obvious. People have different preferences, and that is why I will try to classify the different typing feel of these configurations into two basic groups: light typists like myself and heavier ones. So for the first group, in which I sit, the light typists who don't hit keys with too much force, I'd say that this kit is less relevant, since a light typist is less likely to feel the difference between typing in a keyboard with little to no plate flex and one with more flex. In my particular case, being a touch typist who averages between 90 to 100 words per minute when typing normally for work, and not when speed running on Monkey Type, while I can appreciate a mild amount of plate flex, I happen to dislike keyboards that have too much plate bounce, since those give me the impression that the keys take too long to reset to their original position after I hit them. So I have the sensation that keys are never in the exact position I expect them to be when I'm typing fast, and that throws off my muscle memory, resulting in more typos. But even for a light typist like me, I still enjoy typing on the GMMK Pro with the FlexKit. Mostly because I prefer the way the keyboard sounds with it, and because despite having more flex than the original O-ring modded case, it is not so much flex to the point of bothering me. So while I was perfectly happy with the original case with the mods I did in my Ultimate Guide video, I can say that the board does feel a bit nicer with the FlexKit. Is it nice enough to justify the price of this kit though? Well, hold on a bit. We'll go over that part in a minute on the conclusion chapter. And what about the heavier typists? For those, I think this kit can make a much more positive difference, because for them, the difference goes beyond just sound and comfort. Heavy typists can actually benefit from more shock absorption on keyboards, to the extent that it can help preventing long-term repetitive injuries. So if you're one of those, and you have a GMMK Pro, then you'd be the target audience for this Flex kit. Alright, so let's go through my conclusions about this kit and determine what's the value of this thing and who should consider getting it at what price. In regards to the quality of this kit, I have very little to criticize here. Packaging, the amount of choices you get in terms of sizes, quantity, and types of foam and gaskets, the quality of the E-coating on this white-collared version, it's all very good. I was impressed with the quality of the materials used in the different types of gaskets and in the effectiveness of the G-foam used in the plate and case foam sheets. The fact that Glorious includes additional case screws in the kit is also very much appreciated, and I guess the only thing they could do to improve the experience further here would be to include a Phillips screwdriver with the correct bit size in the box, to help people who don't have proper tools to avoid stripping screws with wrong size drivers. As for the looks, the E-white finish of my copy is really nice. I can't believe Glorious never released a full E-white version of the GMMK Pro before the release of this Flex kit. And I hope they start selling not only full E-white, but also fully coated bare bone kits of the GMMK Pro with the Flex kit and all the multitude of E-coating colors they already offer aftermarket knobs and top case halves. This would be a big differentiation factor when compared to other in-stock 75 boards from the competition, in my opinion. Another factor on the aesthetic side of things here is that this kit is a clean and far more elegant way to achieve more plate flex than the janky plate sawing or even the O-ring mods, since the first can be difficult and risky to execute, and the second compromises the visuals of the board since it creates a panel gap between the two halves of the case. In both the sound and typing feel, as I covered before, I think Glorious hit a good middle ground here. This kit can make a noticeably positive difference in both sound and typing experience for a significant number of typists out there without going overboard. So much so that I believe that they should move quicker to release a GMMK Pro 2 that incorporates the design changes they did for this upgrade kit into the stock product, since in 2023, with all the competition on this market, it makes no sense for the customer to have to buy two different kits to achieve the ideal typing experience. Now, I get it that the whole point of this kit was to help bringing the 2-year-old GMMK Pro design up to the current standards of what you can get for a similar price with both in-stock vendors and smaller custom keyboard shops that are far more competitive in terms of price and production volume today than they were just 2 years ago. So I hope that this kit is indeed just a stopgap measure to help existing GMMK Pro owners to improve their keyboards without having to buy an entirely new board. Which brings me to the value discussion here. For its promotional price of $60, I think this kit is not difficult to recommend to those heavy typists that can't take advantage of a better implemented plate mounting system, such as the one we get with this kit. I'd say that even lighter typists like myself that happen to be curious about trying a different and softer typing experience can still take advantage of this kit for $60. However, for its full price of $100, this thing gets dangerously close to the price of a brand new keyboard that already comes with enough plate flex out of the box. For roughly $20 extra, you can get a full aluminum VIA compatible ACO Mons Geek M1 in the US, which is an insane value for an entry-level metal encased 75% board. With some $60 extra, you could already get into an entry-level custom with the pretty decent Echo 65, for example. That will give you all the plate flex and bounce in the world in a relatively Spartan finish, yes, but still highly effective for those who don't care too much about fit and finish or bells and whistles. So, I can only hope Glorious can keep the price of this kit closer to $60 to help out the legions of existing GMMK Pro owners out there that could take advantage of this upgrade. For anything more than $60 though, I'd recommend you first try out the community mods that will definitely help to improve the plate flexibility and the sound of the GMMK Pro on the cheap, such as the ones I shared in my previous 2 videos on this board. As I just mentioned though, the market for both pre-built and custom mechanical keyboards in 2023 is far more competitive than it was just 2 years ago. Since the original GMMK Pro came out, Keychron has released around 5,000 new variations of their Premium Q and their Budget K lines, And they are all very good and very aggressively priced, even for their fully assembled boards with excellent get-around pro switches and decent keycaps. ACO has stepped in big time with their own ultra-competitive Mons Geek line of metal encased keyboards, starting at a crazy low price of $120 for a bare-bones kit in the US. In the custom side of things, we now have Witcher Studio's budget line of Mellatrix keyboards, where their Zoom 75 costs a very enticing $204 plus shipping for a high-quality heavy metal keyboard with VIA compatibility and a custom keyboard level of fit and finish. Sure, Mellatrix boards are technically not in-stock products, which means you need to be tuned to their socials to know when there is a new drop, and then you'd still have to pre-order and wait about 3 months to get it. But the bang for buck equation there is so good that it might be worth the effort to get a product that is superior to most other in-stock mass-produced keyboards for not much more money. With all these options in sight, Glorious will quickly find itself squeezed out of market share pretty soon if they don't come back with an equally competitive offering. While the GMMK Pro was a revolutionary product 2 years ago, when we had basically no other similar option in terms of price, build quality, and availability, the market has already caught up to it in 2023. Where do I think this GMMK Pro FlexKit fits into the competitive landscape in 2023? For $60, I believe it is a good bridge for existing GMMK Pro owners to update their keyboards to a different typing experience if they happen to be unsatisfied with their stock boards. While $60 is not necessarily cheap, it is still a fair price for a heavy chunk of metal and plus all the options of gaskets and sound damping you get in the box. And it is still at least half the price of buying the cheapest competitive option out there at the moment, the Mons Geek M1. So, the FlexKit gets my recommendation for those existing GMMK Pro owners who have bought this keyboard in the last 2 years, if they happen to be unhappy with the firm typing experience of their boards, that is. For those light typing GMMK Pro owners that are perfectly happy with the typing experience of their stock or O-ring modded boards, then there is no reason to pay for this upgrade, of course. And what about the option to buy a new bare bones GMMK Pro with the FlexKit parts already in the box for newcomers that happen to be interested in getting a GMMK Pro in 2023, which is something Glorious allows you to do now? Well, for just $20 extra, yeah, I'd recommend paying the difference and getting the redesigned bottom case from the get-go. There is an obvious case to be made that you get a much cleaner build with it without the need to do any janky plate flex mods out of the box. And for availability, that is one of the biggest advantages Glorious can give you, of course. Both the upgrade FlexKit and the option to buy a brand new GMMK Pro with the FlexKit included are readily available on gloriouscgaming.com with free 1 week on average shipping time in the US and 3 years limited warranty. And despite all the competition we have in the market for good metal 75% keyboards, having the choice to get an improved GMMK Pro within a week, plus an industry-leading long warranty, is still a very powerful and enticing proposition for a lot of people who can't or won't put up with long waiting times for group buys and pre-orders, or shorter and more difficult to access warranties. Alright, questions or comments? You know the drill. Leave them on the comment section below or on my subreddit, and as always, I'll be there to help. Links for everything are in the video description below as usual. And if you're in the market for something more budget-oriented, check out my recent guide covering 6 production keyboards to improve your productivity in gaming for between $70 and $160. Or click here to check out my recent gaming and work-from-home setup upgrades. Thanks for watching, and see you all soon.